Hi, Sarah here from Big Girl Games, and today I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to play my game, Diamonds for Water. Now, I have set up a 2-player scenario here to show you how gameplay works. Before we begin play though, let's look at a couple of things that we need to be familiar with right at the beginning of the game. One of those is what consequences we're going to have to face on a regular basis. And let me pause here really quickly to say, if you have not looked at the video of how to set up the game board in the player areas, the link to that video is down below in the comments. Go take a look at that and then come back. I talked about this a little bit, but look at what your consequences are that you're going to have to be dealing with. This one is every time this countdown marker moves, whoever the active player is going to lose 1 vitality. Now the goal we're starting on, which is goal number 1, has a different consequence that is also going to be in effect constantly until that goal is resolved. And this one is that players may not draw extra cards. The other 2 goals we're not worried about until we get to them, so we can turn those face down so we're not tempted to look at and try to resolve what those conflicts are as well. Let's also talk briefly about the characters. I'm starting with the modern farmer who has some abilities. Every time this countdown marker moves, his action is triggered and he gives food to 2 players. He also has a skill that allows him to cease the hostilities with other characters, and so he can keep the conflict cards from being drawn for 3 turns. But we'll wait on that skill and we won't use it early in the game because later as this marker moves down this track, we escalate and have to draw more and more cards. The Water Protector also has some really cool abilities. Her action triggers on her turn, so if she plays 4 or more resource cards on her turn, these are the ones that are marked resource and have a green banner, then she can give 2 players an energy each, and that's an important currency in this game. Her skill allows her to take a water card that has been used to resolve a goal and place it on any player's board. So instead of making the decision when it's her turn whether or not she's going to play her skill, she has to make that decision whenever you resolve a goal. So when you begin playing, the very first thing every player has to do before they can even do anything with the cards in their hand is they have to resolve the conflicts and consequences on the board. So first you draw a conflict card. So this is the Modern Farmer's conflict card. The conflict is, can't stand that guy. The previous player loses 1 vitality and discards a card. Well, there was no previous player. This is the very first play of the game, so nobody has to resolve that particular conflict. Now we look at our consequences. The countdown marker didn't move, so nobody has to take a vitality hit, and we already know we can't draw extra cards until this goal is resolved, but nobody has any extra cards to draw at this point. It'll hurt us a little later on if we don't get that resolved quickly. Now the farmer gets to look at his hand, and you'll see I'm going to start with this card. He has an invest card in his hand, so he automatically gets to put a diamond in the bank. So he has here 2 foods. We'll grab those and tokens and put them in his home, and he has cards for 2 energy, and we will also take those. And now he can look at the market and decide what he wants to purchase. So it's important to point out here that there is also an in-game consequence, and knowing what that is when you are looking in the market can sometimes be helpful, especially in the case of this first game scenario, because this in-game consequence, which is going to affect every single player on every turn, requires everyone to discard a resource card or take a hit to their vitality. You have to make that decision. When this is the only thing left to resolve, you now have an added difficulty. So everyone needs to be collecting resource cards, but remember, the Water Protector needs resource cards to be able to trigger her action, so we want to make sure she gets the lion's share, but the farmer, since there are 3 in the market right now, is going to go ahead and purchase one of these. So this one is a nice one. This one costs 2 energy, and it has a discard function. So later when he's being forced to discard a card, he can choose this one, and he's still going to get some benefit from it. So he's going to spend these 2 energy that he collected, and he's going to place that in his discard pile. Now he has food left over. One of the cool mechanics of this game is you can plant food in the field and keep it until later turns. That's the end of his turn. He replenishes the market and discards his hand, and he gets to deal out his new hand. Now it's the Water Protector's turn. Once again, she has to draw her conflict first. And her conflict is no pipeline, advance the countdown marker 1 space. So this is going to move, and now we are triggering this consequence. That means that being the active player, she's going to take a 1 vitality hit, and so I move her vitality marker down the track to 7. But the other thing that it does is it triggers the Modern Farmer's action. He now gets to give 2 players 2 food each. And since there are only 2 players, they both get 2 food. When you give somebody food or energy on your turn, it goes into their home and then it's available for play when it becomes their turn again, unless one of these horrible conflicts has caused them to have to discard. So the other consequence on the board is that she can't draw extra cards. She doesn't have anything in her hand that's going to allow her to draw extra cards, so it's fine. Let's look at what she does have. This is kind of an unusual hand for the Water Protector. She has 3 of the basic energy cards, so I'm going to go ahead and collect her 3 energy tokens. She's got the 2 food that she got from the farmer. She has here another food card, so I'll grab another food for her. And then she has this card, one of her character cards, that allows her to either take an energy or a vitality, a 2 vitality. She doesn't need to, but I'm going to go ahead this early and just put her right back up to full vitality. It's good to keep people's health and energy up. Now I'm going to look at what she can purchase in the market. You can't purchase anything other than what you can see when your turn begins. The market doesn't automatically refill. So these are her choices, and she is definitely going to take this cost 3 resource card. She has 3 energy to spend, so she's going to spend that 3 energy and put that in her discard pile. But now she has these 3 food. So here's another mechanic. 2 food can be converted into an energy, and she's going to use that energy to buy this 1 energy resource card and put that in her market, and that's a nice one because that one also has a discard function. Now her turn has ended, and she can also plant the food in her field to be ready to use again in a couple of turns. And that is the basic gameplay of Diamonds for Water.